There's a common assumption that insight comes by diving deep into a subject. We're often urged to get closer, to zoom in and examine every detail in order to understand. We are taught that insight lives in intimacy, that understanding demands immersion. But there's a paradox we often ignore. Sometimes we see more clearly when we step away rather than when we move closer. Think about it. A painting viewed inches from the canvas is nothing but brushstrokes, chaotic, meaningless fragments of color. But step back, and suddenly a face emerges, a landscape reveals itself, a story unfolds. The painting didn't change, your distance did. This is the power of distance, and it operates everywhere, in our creativity, our relationships, our decisions, even in how we understand ourselves. Today I'll be exploring why sometimes the most radical act that unlocks clarity is simply stepping back. I'm Osi Tabana, and this is the Better Podcast. There's a striking phenomenon that kicks in when people move abroad. They start seeing their home country with fresh eyes. They begin noticing things about their home country that were invisible when they lived there. The quotidian rhythms of life, the peculiar mannerisms, and the unique social codes. It's not that these are new realities, it's just that they were too close to be seen while they lived in their home country. Similarly, tourists tend to see details familiarity renders invisible to locals. And this phenomenon isn't limited to geography. Writers know this instinctively. You know that feeling when you finish writing something and it feels perfect, and then you read it the next day and suddenly the errors leap off the page. The awkward phrasing, the repetition, the argument that doesn't quite land all come into focus. What changed? Not the text, just time, just distance. The artist Michelangelo understood this phenomenon. As part of his creative process, he will stop working on his sculptures for a while and then return to them later with fresh eyes that reveal flaws proximity had concealed. The pattern echoes through history. Albert Einstein developed his theory of relativity over many years, with key insights arriving after years of letting problems incubate while he worked at a patent office, a job that gave his mind space to wander. After being ousted from Apple, Steve Jobs spent years exploring other ventures like Next and Pixar. That time away allowed him to return to Apple with fresh perspective, leading to revolutionary products like the iMac and the iPhone. The writer Maya Angelou took long pauses between books, working in other roles like performing and teaching. This enriched her writing and gave her poetry and memoirs their depth. And Paul McCartney woke up with the melody for the iconic song Yesterday fully formed in his mind after sleeping on it. It came so effortlessly that he wondered if he had unconsciously plagiarized it. In her brilliant book, The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron writes about the necessity of filling the well, a metaphor that reminds us to replenish our creative resources even as we draw on them. In the book, she advises artists to step away from routine work and busy themselves with activities that tip them from their logical brain into their creative one, such as showering and swimming. She wrote, and I quote, "Solutions to creative problems may bubble up through the dishwater or on the freeway just as we're executing a tricky merge." Julia's point here is that when our conscious minds step back, something deeper, something wiser steps forward. This is why long walks can help clarify complex problems, and vacations can reset perspectives that daily life had warped. Even our relationships sometimes need distance, and I don't mean physical separation. Sometimes space in a relationship doesn't weaken love, rather it reveals its shape. This brings me to perhaps the most important domain where we need some distance today, our digital lives. We live in an age of relentless proximity. Social media collapses the world into our palms. We're constantly bombarded with an endless cascade of what's trending and what's breaking. And unconsciously, we begin to confuse the new with the significant. But the damage runs even deeper. The flood of information from social media fragments our attention, scattering it across 1,000 seemingly important, urgent things. The algorithm flattens everything into equal importance, which means nothing truly is important. So, how do we get better at harnessing the power of distance in our lives? First, don't rush into decisions. Let ideas incubate before execution. The decision that feels urgent today may reveal itself as unnecessary tomorrow. Give your thoughts time to settle. Let distance clarify what proximity or a sense of immediacy obscures. Second, to set your creative juices flowing, remember to take breaks and feel the well. When you're stuck, pause and give your mind some time to wander. Third, when relationships feel tangled, give yourself permission to pause. Not the type of absence that severs connection, but the space that invites perspective and the room to see what proximity sometimes obscures. Finally, free yourself from the tyranny of the immediate. That insistent voice demanding your attention now. Give yourself permission to zoom out, to trace the threads that weave through your day and recognize the patterns that only become visible from a distance. That's it for this episode, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs this message. Keep the faith and keep getting better.